Marvelites. Welcome to Marvel Movie Talk. As always, I am Christian Bladt. Down below on your screen, the one, the only, take Eric Connor for the block. Eric, hello, sir.
Top of the morning to you, sir, and lady, and Michael.
And gentle being. And of course, next to Eric is the one, the only, Michael X. Shirley. Hello, Michael.
Yeah, he, him.
He, him. And making her debut on Marvel Movie Talk, the one, the only, Katie Hampton of Geekscape fame. Thank you so much, Katie, for taking the time to join us.
Thank you for having me on. I'm excited.
Yeah, very excited to talk about this show and what I found to be a very interesting episode, because if Kamala Khan was introduced to us in a movie, this episode would have been, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe 30 seconds in a 2-hour movie. Or maybe they wouldn't have even done it at all.
Those movies were getting long.
Not Love and Thunder. But Katie, let's just start with you. Just sort of, the 4 episodes leading up to this, what your feeling has been and what you thought about getting this great backstory, about Aisha and, Kamala's grandmother or great grandmother.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm loving the show so far. I would say that this episode, the 5th episode, is probably the shortest one that I was not expecting, because everything has been so filled and full of just what I love that this show does is that it shows a different culture without vilifying it. And it's so well done. And everything is just so joyful. The woman who plays her mom is one of my favorites on this entire show, because she's so natural and real. And she just wants her kid to be safe. And it's not any of this heinous, I'm the villain of the story, the true villain, the mom, but she's not. She's part of the family, and I love this generational knowledge that's being passed through in every episode. So.
Yeah, and I appreciated how much time they spent, back in time. And, we were talking in the chat before the show started, just how little most of us knew about India's independence and the partition, with Pakistan. And I freely admitted in past weeks on the show, I didn't know any of this stuff that we're really getting. So it's great to have that kind of insight. And, I learned a lot from comic books as a kid. So I'm glad to see that even as a much older man, I'm still learning from this kind of content. Michael, what did you think of episode 5 and spending some time back in the past?
Well, it took me a second to get into this one. I was getting into it when it ended, basically. I've said before, this show is something that I'm not waiting till midnight, 2:00 my time for it to come on and watch it. But when I watch it, I really, really like it. And I mean, we needed that backstory and everything, but I don't know that I was expecting that so late. I don't know that I was expecting so much of it. But it really kind of cemented to me how much I love Iman Vellani and how just naturally great she is. Same with the mother. The mother's just the two of them are just really great casting, such believable actors. When she brought her past grandmother or whatever to her past great grandfather, that was what got me. And I was oh, and I'm ready. Yeah, I actually don't really have a lot to say negative, surprisingly.
Yes, for those familiar and Katie, this is a rare occasion that Michael is generally happy. But in general, I think you have enjoyed this show. I mean, I think that you've had episodes you liked more than others, but look, we've covered enough shows in our time of talking Marvel together, Michael, that 5 episodes. I mean, I think we were 20 minutes into The Gifted, and you'd already thrown your hands up.
We were 20 seconds into The Gifted.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. Polaris didn't have green hair, and we were what are they doing?
Well,
But-
at least it washed out.
It sure did. Eric, I wanted to give you a chance to kind of talk general terms about this 5th episode and some of the things that stood out for you.
Well, I mean, first of all, hello, Katie. Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
The idea that Michael and I are lining up is pretty exciting because
They're in eclipse.
It's an honor to be here,
No.
guys.
this is the day that I would buy that lottery ticket. I would cross the street after seeing a black cat because this is a very special day.
Well, this is like Haley's Comet. It'll happen
Yeah.
again in 76 years. Yeah.
And yeah, I found so last week's episode was the one I wasn't as excited about, or was it 2 weeks ago? And
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. And so this week I thought, one, it reminded me a lot of comic book narrative. The idea that for the first, I was looking at the clock, I think it was like 12 minutes or so, we had this extended story set in the past that I was really into. Even though we ended on such a funky cliffhanger last week, I didn't mind waiting because this was all necessary to understand that cliffhanger. And I found the casting of the great-grandparents to be spot on as well. You mentioned the sort of supporting cast that's been terrific the whole series, but then you bring in these 2 other actors, including this one actress who is a massive star in Pakistan, and they were terrific. And all of a sudden, after being on screen for like a minute or two, I was really invested in their story. And I mentioned last week, I believe, that the ending gave me vibes of this season of Russian Doll
Ooh.
episode, even more so, weirdly enough. And I don't want to go too deep down that road. One, it's not Russian Doll movie talk, which was Christian's very short-lived other spinoff.
Yeah,
It wasn't even about the show; it was just about the toys.
the Matryoshka dolls. Yes,
Right.
They get smaller and smaller. Yes, that's the show that never found a home. Let's just say.
No, still looking, still available for purchase though. But yeah, I thought this episode was great. I think I still have my questions about the bad guys. I still wonder what are their powers. Like sometimes a stabbing will do it, sometimes not. I not really sure what their kryptonite is, but in the end, although I did send you, Christian, a little bit of a video of the effects, but I do like how they set up the final episode. Even if that actor, I think we all agree. I just blanked on his name.
Are you talking about Cameron or?
Yeah. That actor, I think, is one we've all not been huge fans of his performance compared to everyone else in this show.
Mm-mm.
And now,
Yeah, I think that's a
Like
nice
40.
way to say. That's a nice way to say.
I'm
what you're
being
saying.
nice today because Michael is being nice, and I'm taking a cue, as always. I take my cues from Michael Shirley, as you know.
I think my big thing with Cameron is just what exactly his relationship to Kamala is. Because it was like, oh, look, a little fun side piece for you. And then I was like, oh, wait, you might be related? Have we clarified this yet? Can we clarify this just for the sake of watching? Yeah, is he like 100 years old? But he's not.
Right.
My
It's like
age. I think I went to school with him. He's like my age. I don't know if he should be playing high school.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, there's the age of the actor, but then the character is like 100 years older than her, perhaps. So,
I think it was established that he is of her age. Like he,
She was happy about that.
Yeah, they did say
lines.
that, and I immediately pushed it out of my brain because I looked at him and I'm like, no, you're not. It's I said in a past episode, Katie, that it's like trying to convince me in 1990 that Ian Ziering with his receding hairline was in high school, and I didn't buy it then, and I don't buy it now. So,
Did I ever tell you about the time I was probably like 7 or 8, and I was at Celebration Station just like to go? Do you know what that is? Celebration Station?
Is it? I mean, I know it's Celebration. I know Celebration, Florida is the Disney town, but that's
it's
all. It's
kind of like. You probably don't know what putt-putt is unless you saw that TMZ video.
I mean, is it mini golf?
Mini golf.
Yeah, all right. So they have like go-karts and video games and all that type of stuff. So I was there just like as a kid and just happened to be Ian. Do we know?
I believe it's Ian. Yes.
Ian Fleming? No.
Literally there like...
Sir Ian Fleming.
He's like Ian in dramatic roles and Ian in comedic roles.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, he's literally there, like signing autographs for like a meet and greet for like
Wow.
teens, and these girls are like climbing him, and I'm like, who is that? And I was like, he looks so old, and they're like 12. Like, I mean, it was just so weird.
Well,
But it wasn't. That's the end of the story.
no, look, it's Cameron all over again. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, look, I think there's a long history of not being convinced. I mean, you really want to tell me that Stockard Channing was in high school in Greece? Okay, I mean, if that's what you want to tell me, we'll just accept it and we'll move on.
I love talking about her.
Oh, I know you do. So, yeah, I think that that's really kind of the big questions leading into the 6th episode is sort of, you know, what actually happened to Cameron. It looks like, you know, he's going to have some powers, and are they going to be similar to what he had in the comic? Obviously, the Twitter sphere has its opinions on that already, but I think that, you know, I thought that there were some nice moments with him and Bruno right up until Bruno's whole building got blown up. And then I felt bad for Bruno. And, you know, and
I felt bad for the people shopping.
Yeah.
Well, I think the shop was closed. I think it was established. It was after hours. That's not a 24-hour.
Where are you going to find another bodega in New York?
Well, it's okay. It's Jersey City. And things close at like 10 o'clock in Jersey City. Believe me, I know. Okay. You know. And I'm sorry, Katie, what were you saying?
I was just laughing at Michael's. I thought it was Atlanta.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, it's all Atlanta except for when they're in Pakistan, because then apparently it's Thailand. But
fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about sort of the let's do it. Let's actually talk about Bruno. Thank you. The joke we make every week. Let's talk about the fact that they actually spent time together, and he seems to have taken the moment that it took to learn his name. What do we feel about that interaction, Katie, with Cameron and Bruno?
I thought that was a really sweet, very real moment where he was like, "I thought you were Brian this whole time," and it's like, "Yeah, we've noticed." I thought that was sweet. I am touch and go on the actor that plays Cameron, but I think he's doing a good job for what he's been given. I think there's more yet to see from him, hopefully. And I did like that him and Bruno kind of got on the same page, as opposed to just being like, I'm fighting over Kamala, like, and her attention. And that's always fun to a point. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm not a teen girl anymore, but I'm like, let's get to the action. Let's get to like the actual like goodness of the show.
Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously Kamala and her mother are on their way back to New Jersey, but it really doesn't leave a lot of time for this to get all tied up. You know, I mean, we've got one episode next week, and do we feel like the threat from the clandestines trying to take over, you know, have their reality seep in? Do we feel like Eric, that getting turned into dust has at least put that on the back burner, and there's some other threat looming? What are your thoughts for you know, what actually transpired in this episode and where it'll take us into episode 6?
Well, clearly when she, you know, sacrificed herself to the gods of mediocre CGI, I do, and that was surprising, by the way. I mean, like, considering very little in this ever made me sort of pull out, you know, as far as like feeling they didn't capture the world. That was a moment I'm like, oh yeah. So this was the
boats were shocked. The boats were shocking. I will say that. I was like, oh, we're going for skeleton now.
Yeah. And I'm always a fan of people turning into skeletons. I always found that as a kid, even a source of never-ending comedy. But when the way they did it, I was like, oh, okay, that's Dragon's Lair level, Christian. You know, we haven't gone beyond the 80s in terms of effects, apparently. But she clearly has a plan. Clearly, when she sacrificed herself, she knows of a backdoor. She knows of a plan B. And so I don't feel like it's just like, we're going to open another rift, and there we are. Like, there's some other thing brewing here. I mean, I'm curious to see if I'm just going to call him. I assume it's pronounced Cameron. I want to call him Cameron, like Ferris Bueller. I assume he'll, now that he has some onus. To your point, Katie, maybe we'll see what he can do as an actor because they're giving him more instead of just being, I don't know, hot for an episode, then kind of whiny for another episode, which is not an unattractive element.
I mean, it's very Luke Skywalker, but yeah.
What
here
is
it is.
this? Wait, what is it? Okay.
So that's the actual CGI that
Did you
Eric
record
referenced
this
earlier.
with your phone?
It looks
Eric?
like he filmed it on his phone. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't do screen grabs off the iPad. So, I mean, really, like, that's
I think she's horrified by the effects, by the way. Cameron's mother is like,
all right, guys, we got $20 for this last effect.
Well, I will say it, like, for Disney, like, more mature audiences, not full on like blood seeping out or anything like that. Like, I feel like they've pushed the envelope as far as Disney is willing to go in terms of the effects of like what is essentially like, I don't know, like mummifying their body and then tearing their skin away, and then it's just their bones are left, and then their soul gets transported into this other world. I'm a little bit confused on what exactly happens, because clearly the great grandmother was fine, like had a plan, she was ready to roll, and maybe gave powers to Kamran. I'm not sure, but
yeah, and she seemed to accept what her fate was, and passing the powers along to him. And I thought that Kamala pleading with her, like, what do you mean? You just go to him. What are you doing?
He just needs you.
Yeah. I mean, I guess so that leads to the question of, whoever was targeting him at Bruno's that led to the store being blown up. In Jersey City, I mean, a building that has collapsed will be noticed within a week or so. So at some point people are going to be like, hey, didn't there used to be side? So I think that very little Ms. Marvel in this episode of Ms. Marvel, but I thought that it was I found it refreshing, like you said, Eric. It was very comic book like to sort of
necklace.
What's that, Michael?
The necklace.
How it
I know that was perfect for the whole comic book, like
her symbol.
And I feel like we said this weeks ago, we're going into episode 6 and we still don't have the costume. I'm not feeling good about that.
She's got the scarf now, she's got the little symbol.
I was glad she wore the mask last week.
Yeah. It's steadily coming together. I think Bruno's going to be the last piece to like get all the different outfit pieces, which, man, that kid is just sacrificing everything for her. Like his career, his life, like his family.
Does he have a family?
No,
that's a good question.
His family. I think
he says that his parents are
by sandwiches and deli meat.
Yeah, which I don't
his
think.
Family's what?
The bodega.
His parents died.
Yeah.
In the fire?
He says that to Cameron about being an orphan. He's like, well, actually, I am. Which I was like, was that established at some point and I missed it in an earlier episode?
I kind of just assumed because he was always hanging out with Kamala and her family.
And so then his only source of income, the bodega, gets blown up.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, as Ivan points out, we did know he does live with his grandma. So, that is actually, so.
Well, did live with his grandma.
That's right.
I'm sure grandma was out for like bridge night or something. I'm sure she's fine.
And some Spider-Man villain just crushes her. And it's like, well, guess I'm alone.
Hopefully she doesn't play bridge with Aunt May. That's where it would be a problem.
I think that's true.
But I mean,
they die in one moment in the Marvel universe.
That the Bruno character, of course, is very identifiable to me because obviously I was just as cool as him when I was a kid. But also, I feel like that maybe a lot of us have a little bit of Bruno, but we also have probably a lot of Kamala, just where she's like, oh, that's so awesome. You got into that thing. Well, yeah, of course you're going to go. Why wouldn't you? Just the complete, utter lack of awareness that, like, this guy's into you, right? You saw how upset he got when he didn't get to dance with you at your brother's wedding, which you ruined, And so I'm glad that, the early episodes seem to have a little bit more of, the Riverdale feel. I throw that in having never watched the show. So I'm just assuming, but the high school drama part really dominated those early episodes. And I care enough about it that I'm like, oh, don't you hurt that Bruno.
Don't
He's
hurt
such a-
Bruno.
Yeah. Because
No, I totally agree. And it felt a little bit like a Spider-Man Homecoming. Like it felt like that teen sort of John Hughes style movie in the beginning, which I'm there for. Like it felt very lived in. I think she's doing a fantastic job as just being a kid. And that's really hard to mimic, as we all know from the like 30-year-old actors that are trying to do it.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I think they're doing a fantastic job just in keeping it within the attitude and sphere of a teenager, which is really cool.
Yeah. Michael, how do you feel about sort of, melding obviously it's not revolutionary to meld superhero stories and high school stories and real world threats looming. And do you feel that the show up until now has done a good job balancing all of those things? Michael.
Yeah, I can hear you.
No. But I was like, wait, maybe he thought I was directing
it's called a pregnant
towards
pause,
Eric.
Christian.
Yeah.
Sure. I was just thinking about how bad Riverdale is. I
know. That's my fault for throwing that in.
No,
that distracted you.
No, you wouldn't be able to handle that show. It's so stupid, and I want to like it because I love Josie and the Pussycats, but I just can't.
I might live in a house with someone who could have written on that show had she wanted to, but she told her manager, no, thank you.
Oh no!
Madman fancy.
Yeah.
All right.
Bummer though.
It worked out all right for her.
All right.
But in any case, I don't know. What do you think, Eric? Are they spinning too many plates trying to tell all these stories over these last 5 weeks, and now they have us really wanting everything to come together? Let's see if maybe her family finally won't hate her and think she's so weird.
I actually think this episode was a smart way to get us into episode 6. Her mom finally found out the secret, and the secret stuff.
Didn't freak out about it either. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but she had a beautiful response to it. Like, oh, cool. So you're the light girl.
Yeah,
it's like thinking your kid's like gay or lesbian.
And you're like, yeah, awesome.
Oh, it all makes sense now.
Yeah.
Well, and I think compared to maybe what she was worried about with her daughter, weirdly enough, because her daughter was acting. I mean, imagine from the mother's point of view, your daughter's all of a sudden, who's been always like a great student, a great kid, all that, suddenly is being combative and resistant and angry and all these things that isn't her normal MO. So your mind goes to the worst. So comparatively, I don't know, this unexplainable magic power compared to the reality of what it could be, suddenly doesn't seem so bad. And even the wedding, which she, ruined, then you realize, okay, well, this was, I guess I can't get too mad because my kid sort of hulked out and crap happened. So I think they were smart in what they've done here, because I think you're right, they're spinning a lot of plates, but I think they've sort of resolved a few of those. And so now it did feel like, with this, it did what the second to last episode really should do, which is kind of go like this and start to sort of narrow the pathway. I mean, I still think this thing's ending on some kind of funky cliffhanger that gets resolved in the Marvels, but that being said, I think there's not so much to wrap up as I was worried there would be. I thought the last half of the episode was actually pretty efficient, maybe too efficient, considering it just killed a major character. But in the end of it all, I think they have set themselves up for an episode 6 that can hit the landing pretty well. I don't think it's going to answer everything, but I don't think it should answer everything, or else there's no point in
continuing the story.
Yeah, continuing the story. Oh, and lastly, by the way, Freaks and Geeks, Mean Girls, I think might be a little more of a comp than Riverdale, which, watch the first episode of Riverdale, Christian. You will not use that as a comp again for this kind of show.
I think if I ever disappear off the face of the earth, you will understand that I just either spontaneously combusted or melted because I took your advice and watched the first episode of Riverdale. Our friend Daniel Drew in the chat says, I think it should be 8 to 10 episodes per season for returning characters and 11 to 14 episodes per season for new characters. Both ways, all finales should be two-parters. I mean, I think we did get a two-parter here. I know you've really mapped out the episode count that you want. And I think we'll have to kind of assess a week from now. But I can see his point that maybe it feels like it was rushed at times at the expense of really spending a lot of time on the backstory. I think that the economy of spreading out the storytelling is something that we could take a look at next week. But I know really Daniel, being such a fan of the character, he would have been okay with yearly 52 episode seasons so that he got a new episode every week. And look, I understand.
Yeah. Which would be awesome, but I worry about how the actors will age out of themselves just in that short amount of time.
Yeah. But, this is really, I agree with Eric that this is setting up, her part of the story for the Marvels. And I still feel confident that we will see Carol ever so briefly, and that'll lead us into the movie.
I'm hoping we do. I'm hoping we do because she would freak out, but I think that would be also just her as the actress freaking out about Brie Larson.
That's probably also true. Yeah. So it's. I think they've done a really good job in telling her story and bringing us into a world that obviously a lot of us didn't know that much about. I think that the nice thing about the representation that we've seen over the last couple of years from Marvel is that different groups of people can feel like, this is a character that I can identify with, and then for the rest of us, it's like, well, I need to learn an awful lot about this. Like, wait, that's where Pakistan is on the map. Oh, now I get. Thank you. Just a little, and I kind of liked the old style newsreel introduction to the episode. I was like, all right, we're ready for some learning.
Yeah, no, when it switched from that Marvel into sort of like a sepia tone type, that was beautiful. I was like, oh, we're in for a flashback. I can't wait. And I agree. Like, this is the kind of history lesson that I would love to actually listen to. It's part of my comic book stuff, but it's also real history, and I'm understanding it a little bit more and more. That I'm in. I'm totally in.
Cami Egan disagrees with us. She doesn't think we're going to see Carol. We might get a voiceover of Carol a la Blade in Eternals, or we're going to get a Superman style cameo from the end of Shazam, where we see the suit, but they haven't had to pay Brie Larson
to do it yet.
Yeah. But I have theories, but we'll see if they come true next week. I think it would be a great way to, finish these 6 episodes in a way that's like, yeah, her story's not over. You're going to really get an awful lot more of her. And whenever they get a scene where they meet each other, I feel like I want it to be on the show because they can spend more time of her, just literally fangirling out over Carol. But we will see. I mean, a week from now, we'll know whether that's happening or not. Katie, what are your hopes for what we get? We're talking about maybe seeing Carol. Apart from that, what are you hoping we get next week in episode 6?
One, I'm hoping that we get a good solid fight for Kamala. I hope that she kind of fully becomes realized in a way, or not fully realized, but nearing that realization. And also, I want justice for Bruno. I want something really fun and get him to have his moment next week somehow.
Michael, do you agree that we should really see those powers in use and her take the time to put on the lightning bolt costume before she has a big fight?
I think it's going to come in the middle of a fight, like Iron Man style almost, maybe. I don't know. I'm really not sure about Bruno's tech, but maybe this Cameron guy is going to help him with his power. I don't know. It's going to be my prediction is going to be like the last episode of Daredevil season 1.
Yeah, when we finally got the suit. I'll ask you the same in a moment, Eric. But Cam Egan really wants that Paul Rudd Ant-Man cameo. I don't think it'll happen, but it sure would be fun. I'm never going to say
I feel like
no.
they've been alluding to it. Like, I feel like if anything else, that might be the more realistic version of the cameo.
I mean, even if they don't give us the Ant-Man podcast that they reference that we all want to actually listen to, if she could be listening to it in the show where we hear Paul Rudd's voice for like, a few seconds, I'm like, all right, I'll accept that. Eric, what are you hoping that we get next week as they wrap up what we can assume is season 1 of Ms. Marvel, but it also might be the only 6 episodes they do, but I hope not. But what do you think what would you like to see next week?
What I'd like to see is Captain Marvel. Carol showing up, Brie Larson taking a pay cut for one day's work, because I think if we're going to bridge this character into Miss Marvel's, the Marvels, it feels like you need that. It feels like you need sort of the stamp of approval from a proven part of the franchise to come in and say, like, okay, like, get ready. And it would also be a terrific way to get us excited about that movie. So, I mean, I think it would make sense. Do we get her? I don't know. I think Paul Rudd it feels like this is something Paul Rudd would do.
Yeah.
Post-credits scene.
Oh, yeah, like Conan O'Brien, all those times he would play that clip from Mac and Me.
Yeah.
The rip-off of E.T. Like, Paul Rudd is in on the joke, which is Paul Rudd lives a great life and, can do whatever the heck he wants as long as he's amused. And I think he'd be incredibly amused to show up in this.
But what you're hoping is that Brie Larson would be willing to work for what is now known around the Disney Plus offices as the Liam Neeson day rate. Is that what you're hoping that she works for? Because that was, he was on set for like an hour probably.
Yeah.
And it was probably a very expensive hour because he does have a very specific set of skills. And,
yes, he does.
They do not come free.
She has appeared like I'm trying to remember where she appeared. Where
it was in Avengers or something. She popped up with the new haircut.
Yeah.
The new haircut was a deleted scene from Endgame.
Oh, and she popped up at the end introducing herself, kind of.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there's like an exchange with Rocket, and Carol's like, what are you going to do? Go get another haircut? And then she talks about how she saved like millions of lives. And he's like, all right. Bringing me down. Thanks for being a bummer.
But I don't think it's as much about her like being pricey. Like, really? I mean, yes, she's like done some great stuff, but she's not like Julia Roberts or like Angelina Jolie, who's like a lead. I mean, she does Nissan commercials, for God's sake.
Really high-paying Nissan commercials.
Yeah.
We could all do those Nissan commercials.
She could be doing Lexus commercials.
Sure.
Well, Lexus and Nissan it's more the Toyota parts are in the Lexus. We'll talk about that later.
My thought is, from a practicality standpoint, we have already seen that Kamala has pictures of Carol up in her room. So you've already had to deal with likeness rights for the actress. So you're probably going to have her on the show. But I could be wrong. And you can tell me I'm wrong next week.
You could say the same thing about Scott Lang. So
that's true.
Oh, yeah.
Although the helmet's always
to see Ant-Man.
The helmet's always on. So that's the difference.
Do you think
they've actually seen her face?
You think they do likeness rights for like when you're in the franchise that they're literally going to pay you for a poster on a wall?
So if you're on a TV show and you're in the previously on recap,
I know that.
Very good you're going to be in the show because they're not going to pay you to just show up in the recap. So I've definitely had some shows ruined for that reason. Because you're like, oh, well, we know who's going to be here. I want to make sure we get this in. I know Eric's only got a few minutes left. Ghost 8386. I think we might get post credits setting up Secret Invasion next episode.
That's what I'm expecting as well. Yeah. And
that could be interesting if Secret Invasion would be soon enough that her next step isn't the Marvels, where maybe we'll see her on that.
When does Secret Invasion come out?
I think it would be before, like, I think the Marvels is supposed to come out like next summer. I could be wrong on that, but I'm fairly sure because I think they switched it with Ant-Man. So I feel like Secret Invasion is before that, but I could be wrong. It's what is it? What does everybody think about that?
I mean, I think they might set it up, but I think all of this ties together, Secret Invasion and the Marvels. Like, I think there's like some kind of Skrulls thing going on.
There's definitely some kind of Skrull thing going on.
I think that's who this damage control is after, probably, like someone who's like switching around. I don't know.
We're way away from. Go ahead, Katie.
I was just going to ask, who do you think it would be? Who do you think is the token Skrull in this series?
The mom. I'm just kidding.
That would be a flip. That would be a flip.
I would think it's the I think it's the damage control agent, because he's working so hard.
The guy, right? Not the female. The female.
No, sorry, the guy. The guy who was in No Way Home. That specifically that damage. But by the way, they could both be Skrulls.
And we can't forget Will Smith at the bottom of all the rubble. Was one.
Wait, what? Which the baseball player or the actor?
The blue hand. Will Smith's career.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like, we can't forget about that.
That Jin.
They haven't explained that, and I'm wondering if Jin is another word for like Skrull in their language. Like, Jin is like supposed to be a genie, and a genie could probably change.
They're already bad guys in this, so they're just a different bad guy isn't that exciting.
A bad guy by another name.
In fact, it smells just as sweet. Yes, I know.
Well, Daniel is sharing a theory that he thinks Secret Invasion mostly takes place during the blip years, but we will see soon enough.
That would be interesting.
But
I will have to have a full breakdown of the timelines if that's the case, because I'll be like, wait, what year are we in?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's don't move back and forth too much.
No, they're going to need to offer a master class just on the timelines then at that point, because even for us watching closely, that's going to be like the snake eating its own tail.
Yeah.
So before Eric has to go, I know that there was some more Photoshop work that you worked on, but so we'll take a look. And Eric set up the story.
Katie, mediocre Photoshop skills at best, childlike at worst. Yeah, skills
definitely in air quotes. Sure.
It's so like if I dribble a basketball once, that doesn't mean I'm playing basketball.
So let's set up, Eric, what we talked about last week that led to these next couple of let's just say masterpieces from the desk of Eric Connor.
Yeah, well, Christian and I might be two of the biggest Howard Stern fans in the free world. At least the world above ground, below ground.
The chuds,
yeah, the chuds.
Never enough that we appeared on the Superfan Roundtable, but just short of that, perhaps. Yes,
copy.
No, I did have a song parody appear on the show a couple of times, so I
show off.
International recording star, thank you. I'm still waiting for
what? What are you talking about?
I will send you the clip later. I had a song parody appear. I'm still waiting for even a cent of residuals, but maybe my
on the Howard Stern show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then my ties run deep. But anywho, so apparently on a hot mic, Katie, I don't know if you heard about this, that Stern apparently said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing the Dr. Doom project," which made everyone's heads explode a little, and made Christian and my heads explode a lot, because then we're like, did we cause this? And
did you make this happen?
Like, is this our fault? Because though
probably
we're Stern fans, I have a few hundred people I'd cast sooner, but this is my rendering of. I have two renderings of what.
Let's talk about this one first, and then I need a moment to reset after that. So
understood. So this was going with the classic Roger Corman's Dr. Doom look, which meant I went with a classic Howard Stern look with his old schnoz and the mustache and the very unfortunate glasses.
It looks like Geraldo Rivera.
It does not entirely. It does not.
With a C-3PO body.
And we're not wrong. So that would be one way of going about it. And the way that, honestly, would make sense. It's like if you're doing a Dr. Doom project with Howard Stern as Dr. Doom, I hope the budget would max out at about $1 million, including his salary of $750,000. So. That's one way, and then the other way is a more, dare I say, artistic and daring way to approach the character. If Kristen
Yeah,
has
I
that
think
photo.
that I think that as masterworks from your eventual exhibition of your work, I think that this will be in the entryway, so
Yeah,
that people
I
can
have a
see
gallery, and my gallery is up at the Arby's parking lot in Sunset Boulevard.
a little something that Eric has referred to as Dr. Fartman, with of course the great John Stamos there
of
by his
course.
side.
If
And
this
yes,
doesn't happen, I'm going to be very disappointed. Like this scene
Yeah.
exactly.
maybe we can make this movie ourselves. Again,
I think
it
so.
doesn't take much.
We
I
just
think I
need
have
the like the robot chicken like cut off thing.
that would be perfect. So, yes, I mean, I don't know about you guys. Once I saw those photos, I got even more excited about the possibilities of what a Doctor Doom Howard Stern crossover would look like.
I love this because Cam Egan says it looks like Mr. Cotter as Dr. Doom, and then we could have an entire Legion of Doom sweat hogs. Signed Epstein's mother.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, so that's what something that you can work on for next week. Before we let Eric go and we let him remind you where you can find him, I want to let you know that you'll be able to find both of us Friday night at 10 p.m. Pacific. I know that's 1 a.m. Eastern. I get it. But I want to give people a chance to see Love and Thunder before we post our first reaction to it. And we talk all about our adventures in actually seeing the movie together. And maybe we spend a couple minutes on parking difficulties and where we went after. People will really take in and understand the whole night that we had.
The body shop.
But I think that what we can say in a very spoilery way is that if you like this show and you enjoy Thor, I think you should go see that movie. This movie is definitely not going to be for everybody, but if you're so into Marvel that you're sitting here watching this show, I think you'll have fun with it. Is that a fair assessment, Eric?
Completely agree. It very much is worth your money, worth your time, worth wearing a mask. Whatever you need to do to feel comfortable in the theater, do it, because it's worth it seeing it large as well. Thor's always been bigger than life, so watching it at home is just not going to be the same thing.
Yeah, and you can watch it the way I did, where my mask was actually the popcorn bucket that was strapped a la feed bag style, and it just made life so much easier. It was awkward when Eric wanted to share some, but we
I found
figured
a
it
way.
out.
Life finds
And
a way.
as you would always expect with a Marvel movie, mid-credit scene and end-credit scene. So you have to stay. You just watch till the end. It's fine. The bathroom's there on the way out. Eric, if people want to keep in touch with you, how do they do that?
Well, if Mr. Soto wants more disgusting artwork, you can reach me at Count Eric Connor over on Twitter and on Instagram, and Eric Adam Connor on Facebook. Kamala is not my real first name. Sorry for anyone confused. I know I look like Kamala, but I'm just an Eric. Thank you all. Great seeing you. I will see you soon in rerun or real life form.
Yes, and you'll be back with us next Wednesday as we talk about episode 6. So,
all right, bye-bye.
Thank you. Gone. He has to go teach.
Bam.
He's a teacher, New York Film Academy here in Burbank, and he has to.
That makes a lot of sense,
doesn't it? Yeah, I mean, if there's anything he's going to teach, it's going to be film. Katie, we want to also take the time to let people know, first of all, welcome. Thank you for being here on the show. It was wonderful to have you, and let people know how they can keep in touch with you and where they can find you.
You can find me pretty much on any social media app as at ElSassyPants, ElSassysYPANTS, sometimes with a Z at the end, if it's on TikTok for reasons we talk about in the Geekscape podcast. You can also check out me in Geekscape podcast, Geekscape Games, and we'll be down at San Diego Comic-Con. So if you're at San Diego Comic-Con, go check out the Geekscape booth. We'll be down there. Say hello.
And Michael, if people want to hear more about the signing that Ian Ziering was doing when you were a child, and they want to know if there's any photos, if you got anything signed, any questions about that, Was there back sweat? You know, how humid was the day? A lot of questions. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me at I Hate Michael Shirley on Instagram and Michael X Shirley on Twitter. And he was wearing a white t-shirt.
Oh, okay. Not always flattering. Well, Daniel Drew will be at San Diego Comic-Con, so find Katie at the Geekscape booth. And while you will not find me at the Geekscape booth, you can find me over there on Geekscape. Myself, Eric, my pal Jeff Winstead, and our friend Kaitlin Cornell. We talked on the Geekscape Book Club about Wonder Woman by George Perez, Volume 1. And next month, we will be talking about the first volume of Ms. Marvel. That'll be in August. So make sure you head on over to Geekscape and find all of that. As I mentioned earlier, our Thor first reaction will be up Friday at 10 p.m. Pacific. And then we'll have an additional Thor conversation later next week. But make sure you tune in for this show live next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. But until then, as the great Stan Lee would say,